In this, in this lab, you're going to manipulate data that is in a cancer registry, and you're going to generate 2 reports, and you're going to submit these 2 separate reports. On your lab instructions for this lab, you are given data that you are supposed to include in the database or the cancer registry. And so you're given 2 files that are attached. One of them is the actual, says cancer registry, and the other file contains your instructions, but also data that you are to enter into this cancer registry. And so before we get started, I want to say that this is a very abbreviated version of a cancer registry. In cancer registries, we keep massive amounts of data on every cancer patient that's treated, diagnosed, or treated at the facility, and also all the follow-up data on each patient. And also, this we're doing with Excel. Now, Excel, remember, that's a spreadsheet. And a spreadsheet we usually use to manipulate numbers, to do calculations. But we can also use it as a database. Most of the time it's if we have a relatively simple database. If not, we would want to use other types of software. But I wanted to show you how you can actually use Excel as a database. And remember, a database is just where the same data is kept on different, it can be different people or different accounts. It just depends on the setting. But for example, in this database, for every patient that's in this database, we keep their first and last name, date of birth, diagnosis, site of the cancer, and zip code of where they live. And so the same data is being kept, but on many, many different individuals. And that's all that a database is. The first thing that you're going to do is to generate a report and alphabetize by patient name, last name, and then first name. And so you will initially put the data in, or enter the data that are given to you on your instructions. And so you'll come to the bottom of the database that's provided, and you, or the cancer registry that's provided, and you will input the data. And so your database will be bigger. Your cancer registry will be bigger than this one that I'm demonstrating right now, because I'm not going to input that data, but you should before you do anything else. And then you're told to alphabetize, or put it in alphabetical order and generate a report. And again, we're doing this by name. Now, I want to point this out, because if you don't do it this way, your data can become very scrambled, and sometimes you just learn the hard way. If you're going to put all of this in alphabetical order, first thing you need to do is select the whole database, all of the data. We said we were going to alphabetize it by last name and then first name, but we don't just highlight those 2 columns, because if we do and then we alphabetize it, it'll just alphabetize the names, but it'll leave all the other data where it was originally, and so it's going to be hooked up with a different name or associated with a different name. So it's very important that you select everything that you want to be. So what we're doing is sorting. And so we select everything in our database. On the Home tab, we go to Sort and Filter. We're going to sort smallest to largest, or you'll notice it says A to Z. And so that's what we want to do. So when we click that, the position of everything in our database has changed. The names have been moved. Wait a minute, let me redo that. The names will be moved, and you'll see it is now in alphabetical order, but all the data associated with each name has also been moved with that name. And so that's very important. And when you do this, or after you do it, File, Save As, and you're told on your instructions how to save the first part. think it says lab 9 or lab number. It could say part 1 or report 1. I'm not looking at the instructions right now, but name it as it says. This is part 1 of the lab, and then, you know, of course, you always put your last name. Now, in addition to that, you're going to generate another report. And you're going to generate a report that lists all of the cases of breast cancer in Coleman, which is the zip code 35055. And so we have all of that data in our database, but we just need to filter out what we need for our report. So you've saved the database along with the data that you've put in, or the cancer registry, in its entirety. Now you're going to narrow things down. Now, on your directions, we want to pull out or filter out by site, meaning where the cancer began, that's the site, and also by zip code. So we want only the breast cancer patients with a zip code of 35055. And so this time we only highlight the columns or select the columns that we want to filter by. And so we're going to filter out this information. Now, there are two ways of selecting the columns. You can I always go from the bottom up, because if not, if I'm going from the top down, a lot of times the mouse gets away from me and I've gone down and selected a number of rows that I don't mean to. So if I start at the bottom and go up, it has to stop. And so I can select that, or if you want to just select a column, you see that dark black arrow that comes up. If I hold my mouse down, it selects the whole column, and if I continue to hold it and just drag to the right, I'm highlighting the two columns that we're dealing with. We're dealing with site and zip code. Okay, and what do we say we want to do? We want to filter to generate that report. So go back up to sort and filter, but this time go down to filter. And notice what happened. As soon as we clicked on that, the two drop down arrows or menus showed up in those two columns. And so the first thing we want to do is to filter out by clicking on the little drop down menu. We want to filter out the breast cancers. Well, it just so happens on this computer the default is set at select all, but you'll notice it lists everything, every different option that's been entered into that column. And so if we want just the breast cancers, I'm not going to select all. I'm going to pick breast and then do OK. Now our list shortened considerably, so it's only showing us all of the breast cancers. But we want to go one step further, and we want to filter out the breast cancers in zip code 35055. And again, always go by your instructions. If the instructions say 35073 or something, then you do that. But I'm saying 35055. I know that that's Coleman's zip code. And so we're going to do the same thing, click on and show all of the different choices as far as zip code. We don't want select all. We want to pick the particular zip code that we're looking for. Do OK. Well, we shortened our list again. And so this you would save as file, save as. This is your report 2 that you're going to submit. And again, look at your instructions and see how I told you to actually save it, or what name to save it under. And so we can generate reports like this by actually going into a database and just pulling out or doing queries. That's what they're called, asking the database a question. And in this case, we're asking it to show all the breast cancers in a particular zip code. Now, once you save this, it's only saving this information or data that you're seeing. So you've already saved it in its entirety, the cancer registry. When you opened your file, you put your data in, you did file save it, or actually after you put it in alphabetical order. And so you've saved everything. So this second report won't allow you, once you save the report like this, if you were to save it by the same name, as your original report, this will replace it. And so be sure that you save it initially after you've alphabetized it, and then you save this report. And so this is, you're going to submit 2 reports to me, but that's how you sort data and filter data to be able to use Excel as a database.